NFL, college football, I watch it all.
Do you? Yeah,
I do.
I'm just, the NFL completely lost me.
I know.
Oh, hey, we're live. Hey, welcome to today's edition of The Advance. It's when, we're supposed to pay attention to the, to our amazing.
Well, I was paying attention. I just thought it'd be a little more casual.
You just decided to let me just babble, but give my theories about how bad the NFL is. Well, Brandon Waltens, senior editor of Texas
might be a little
Scorecards.
sleep deprived, having watched the overtime tie last night with, of course, the Cowboys and the Packers. Tie is better than losing, I guess. So there was the excitement there, but it did go pretty late.
Okay, all right. But hey, you're going to get Bad Bunny as your NFL entertainment, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know what a Bad Bunny is. That's why I know I'm getting older, is I don't know the names anymore.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, so this coming weekend, we have, interestingly, a national conference is going to be taking place in Austin for a group called Stop Predatory Gambling. And they're a national group that, as you might imagine, focuses on gambling issues around gambling. A lot of I think, if I understand correctly, a lot of their efforts have been pushed in recent years towards some of the online stuff, Kalshi, and the sports betting apps, things like that. But there's a very interesting kind of gambling, not related, gambling story that we covered last week that I suspect is going to continue to be in the news for the next couple of weeks. That deals with the Alabama Coshada Indian tribe, who is, they are not only are, they have a little casino on their reservation, which they've been allowed to do under federal law. But now, because of a Biden era change, they've bought some land, not only not on the reservation, not even adjacent to the reservation, but a distance away from the reservation, that they're going to own a casino.
Yes.
And it's raised a lot of eyebrows. A lot of local and state officials opposed this Biden era rule. But so far, we don't see the attorney general, we don't see the state making any moves here.
It's interesting too. Texas has really become ground zero for the fight over gambling, not just with casinos, but as you mentioned, with online gambling as well. You have all sorts of factions coming in, spending tons of money in elections trying to sway the legislature, which for what it's worth has actually moved, I think, more anti-gambling this last session than they were the session before. So sort of interesting to see that, but they certainly haven't given up. And there's no sign that they're not going to continue to spend millions of dollars in this upcoming election to try to push back against some of that. And here at the same time, you have some of these stories. So Paige Field reported on this at the tail end of last week, where you had this casino in Livingston. So East Texas has existed for a while. People think, well, there's no casinos in Texas. There are actually a handful. The reason you might not have heard of them is that they're Class 2 casinos. So basically, if you're thinking blackjack, poker, all those things, they don't exist there. They're essentially slot machines that are powered by bingo, which essentially means that instead of playing the house, you're playing each other. It's some technical things, but it's essentially a room with slot machines and not much else. And so they're not actually all that interesting, right? In this case, however, this seems to be setting up maybe potential for future expansions of these at least Class 2 casinos, which are legal under current law, expanding them into places like Houston or San Antonio, right? Right now, this expansion is in another town, Leggett, I believe it is, and is owned by the trust that the Indian tribe owns, but there's nothing there to stop them from buying up land in a higher population
Right.
area and starting a casino there. And so these are sort of those first questions. And, frankly, we've seen, I mean, just literally this past weekend, you had Lucky Eagle Casino, another one of these class 2 casinos,
Down
this
in
one
Eagle
in Eagle Pass by the
Yep.
border, where you had a shooting where 7 people were shot, 2 were killed, including one former Border Patrol agent in there. We don't know the motive yet. Luckily, a suspect has been captured there. But it just shows you, these casinos do exist to some extent in Texas already, and that the powers that be that want to expand that want to expand casino gambling in Texas, these are the issues they're running up against.
Well, and I think that what's fascinating, you look at at kind of the reputable political conversation around support for casinos. You're talking Sands out of Nevada. Curiously, Sands, the people pushing casinos in Texas, they don't own the Sands Casino in Las Vegas. They're the name. They divest themselves of all casino operations, casinos in the United States, almost exclusively operating in China, now trying to get back into the U.S. market by doing a casino. They say a destination resort casino in Dallas, where they want to, some affiliated entities have bought some property and that sort of thing. And the push has been, we'll have 1 or 2 or 3 of these in the state. There'll be destinations. We'll be deeply in bed with government, so that we will stop any competition. We won't have competition. We will have these very carefully monopolized entities. The problem, and that's what this Indian casino raises, the Alabama Cachada, is that under existing federal law, anytime there is an allowance anywhere in the state, even for a single, big blackjack, roulette, everything else, the Native American tribes can have that on their land. Historically, that's been understood to be on their reservation. But what the Alabama Cachada seemed to be trying to do is to expand out, again, under that Biden rule. And to your point a moment ago, that should the legislature authorize 3 casinos where everyone's getting paid off everywhere, it won't be 3 casinos. And the selling point to the public is, we'll just have 3. They'll be high end. They'll be super nice. But yet we have seen the Alabama Cachada, and we've seen a couple of these other tribes buying up in their property trusts land in Houston and in Dallas and in Fort Worth and in Austin, various other places where you could see these, not on a reservation, but it's on Indian-owned land. It's going to be an interesting discussion coming up over the next couple of years. Let's talk a little bit about University of North Texas. I understand that about an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago now, Mary Catherine Hallmark, the Turning Point USA student who was threatened, asked to leave a class because of her support for Charlie Kirk. She and other Turning Point students have been harassed, threatened on campus. Nothing being done there.
No.
Apparently going to be meeting with the UNT police this morning, but the most recent thing I've seen from her mom on social media is that the police department is saying, okay, Mary Catherine, you come up with the safety plan, which I'm not sure how a 18, 19-year-old is supposed to know what a full-on safety plan looks like, dealing with people who wear masks and throw Molotov cocktails and whatever else Antifa does.
No, and unfortunately, this is a pattern that we've seen. Certainly, we've seen this sort of behavior happen in other universities, but it's been a behavior that has gone on at UNT for quite some time. There were incidents several years ago where students felt threatened, were harassed, were essentially had to be escorted off campus by police simply for being conservative, running conservative organizations. That seems to be what we're seeing here. The university, 2 weeks ago, maybe, put out a statement that didn't really say anything. And there's been no action since. You've had the student talking out. Her mother is speaking out. You've had Representative Andy Hopper, state legislator, who represents parts of Denton County, there speaking out. You've also had a number of alumni as well that have said, look, something needs to be done here. This sort of behavior as well, I think is worth mentioning, only seems to happen one way, right? It's only the conservative students, the conservative organizations that are seeing this type of behavior happen,
Right.
and they're not getting any sort of backup from their administrations at the universities. Now, Attorney General Ken Paxton on Friday evening, I believe, said he's urging the university to take action to maybe expel some of these students that are making these threats. We'll see if anything comes from that, but the spotlight certainly continues to be on UNT and other universities, but in this case, UNT, and whether or not the administration will actually do anything. And so far, at least as we're talking right now, it doesn't seem like they are.
Yeah, and it's very easy, I think, and I see this on social media. People kind of make these comments of, "Oh, well, it's UNT. It's always been a liberal college, liberal university. It's always been left leaning," and that's cute, that's clever, but at the end of the day, the liberal, the left leaning UNT still has a board of regents who were appointed by Republican governors going back to the mid 1990s. These regents all been confirmed by Republican run senates for going back to the mid 1990s. So while you might have a proclivity for left leaning students to go to UNT, the governance is supposed to be, Texans vote for Republican governance, and none of which, though, excuses violent, threatening behavior. I'm thinking of the young lady from a couple of years ago, Niedert, Kelly Niedert, who was literally holding a conservative student group, and Antifa showed up in the lecture hall where this meeting was going on. The couple campus police did nothing about it as they stormed up there, threatening her life. She had to escape, locking herself in a bathroom. I mean, absolutely wild things. This shouldn't be a left or a right, a conservative or a liberal issue. This should be a, how in the world? This is a human decency issue.
And it's literal safety issues. I mean, it's gotten, unfortunately, to that point.
Yeah. All right. Last thing to talk about in the last couple of minutes here remaining. Travis Morgan on our team is jetting his way to El Paso for a redistricting lawsuit. Tell me about this.
Yeah. So just these new congressional maps just passed in the legislature earlier, in the summer during the special sessions. Well, as expected, they're already being challenged, and you actually have trials starting, I believe, Wednesday on these new maps happening in El Paso. Now, this is interesting for a couple reasons. First of all, this, of course, will set the stage for whether or not these new congressional maps are used in the upcoming elections. We expect that they probably will be, but you never know. Certainly, the judicial system can be unpredictable, and certainly the left is doing everything they can to fight it. It also is interesting because it comes at a time where the same court has yet to actually rule on the maps from 2021. So just shows a little bit the speed sometimes these things work. But Travis is going to be up there. He's going to be following it and explaining it. And, it can certainly this redistricting and anything legal, I think you combine those two topics and it certainly can become heady stuff. But, this is important because this is going to determine whether or not the efforts that were made all through the summer by the legislature to redraw these maps to give Republicans up to a potential five-seat advantage over what they currently hold, whether or not those will ultimately be successful and whether or not they will be realized in the upcoming midterm elections.
Well, and you see in other states, these are all federal lawsuits, of course. Obviously, you have California trying to go the other way with they already heavily favor Democrats with their maps, but to even go further, up to Missouri, you see Ohio, a number of other states who are looking to do their own redistricting. It seems in many cases the underlying theory is, well, you're not allowed to do redistricting because we haven't had a census. But that's not actually what the law says. The law says that the legislature, if they wanted, it'd be silly, but the legislature could redistrict every 2 years if they wanted to.
Right.
So some of this is, some of the popular legal theories just kind of run afoul of the real law. If we want to have a law that says you can only redistrict based on the census, let's have that discussion. But that's not the state of things, is it?
No, that's not how it works, and that's why the Texas legislature went ahead with it. That's why other states are potentially looking at it. And this early trial here from El Paso, and what we find out over the next couple of weeks, and this trial is expected to take some amount of time, certainly. We'll say a lot. Candidate filing for the primaries, it should be noted, opens up in November, so not that far away.
And as you noted, the same El Paso court has had a case pending since 2021. So I'm not so sure money should be riding on them taking swift action.
And look, and we've seen, I mean, you remember, Michael, back in 2014, where you had, or was it 2012? 2012, where you had a redistricting fight actually push the primaries back, right? So instead of happening in March, it was happening in like May and July, I think, for the runoff. So could that happen this time? I don't know, but this is where it starts.
Yeah. All right. Brandon Waltens, thanks for time, and thank you for joining us in this edition of The Advance. If you want to know more about me and Brandon's really bad takes on college and professional football, we won't do that here. Have a great day.